Okay, let's go ahead and get started. It's 3:03. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today for ChatGPT Friend or Foe, a library workshop from the University Libraries Library Live Research Skills webinar series. There are so many different ways to talk about ChatGPT, but today's workshop is going to focus on how you students can use ChatGPT and its technology to support your library research skills. So today, Jayati, Chaudhuri, and myself, Lettycia Terrones, are your presenters, your workshop presenters. And we're both librarians here at Cal State L.A. And a big part of our job is to work with students like you and, whether you're undergrad or graduate students, we spend a lot of time working with students and helping students develop their research skills. We help students how to find articles and other resources that they need for their papers. We help students figure out the types of questions we can ask to evaluate the use of information. And it's from that perspective that we are bringing this workshop to you, because from this librarian perspective, we want to help you as a student understand the uses and the limitations of ChatGPT, with particular focus on developing your research skills. Okay, but before we kind of dive into the workshop and demo all of the stuff that we have to show for you, we want to do a little experiment. And we kind of want to ask, have you used ChatGPT? So right now, please do me a favor. If you have your phone, take it out and either copy the QR code on your phone or click on the QR code from your phone. Or if you're at a computer, you can go to menti.com and then enter in the code 92503450. Okay, and I'm going to do my best to put the code. I'm going to do my best to put the code in the chat, but sometimes I get a little challenged with that. So let me go here and see. Okay, so there's some students that are already entering. Have you used ChatGPT? Yes or no? Okay, so right now the yes replies are sort of like the majority. So it's kind of like an even. Okay, so all right, so what do you think, Jayati? Oh, look, it's an even 18-18.
That's interesting. I'm happy to see this response. So you have a lot to learn about ChatGPT today, that's for sure.
Okay, we have another question for you. And it's the same QR code. Or if you're using menti.com, if you go to menti.com, you can type in 9250, 3450 to get into the little poll here. And we're just kind of curious, for those of you who have used ChatGPT, how have you used it? I know I've used it quite a bit. Just kind of curious. And this is a totally anonymous poll, so nobody is tracking down your name or your student ID or anything like that. We just kind of want to know, because a lot of studies show that students in college are actively using ChatGPT, and we kind of wanted to get an idea of what that landscape looks like at Cal State L.A. Okay, so here's to draft an email response. I've done that for sure to sort of get some language going for emails. Any other ones that are standing out to you, Jayati?
Playing chess with me, summarize a book. That is new to me.
Oh, cool. Play chess.
Yeah, this is interesting.
I
Thank you
also,
for letting us know, everyone, because we are all still exploring ChatGPT. So As you will learn today, we are trying to learn from you, from your responses.
I really like this question that's come up. See how smart it actually is. I love that. And we're going to talk a lot about that, especially towards the end when we're thinking about the sorts of ethical questions that we are encouraging you to ask about ChatGPT. How smart is it actually? We were allowed to play around with it in a class. Yeah, we've been reading that, right, Jayati, that a lot of professors are creating lesson plans with having students use ChatGPT.
Yes.
And let's see, we have, I've never used it before, to write some essays, learn about topics, help with my resume or CV, to brainstorm. Yeah, I really like this one, to ask ChatGPT to simplify a complex text. Yes, all of this to check for misspellings, and actually, one of the things that many of our students use, and I also use a lot of our staff and faculty also use, is Grammarly. And Grammarly also works with generative AI. And you're probably involved in some sort of like engagement with generative AI in all sorts of things. But again, like we were saying earlier, the focus of today is really to understand how you can use it as a student at Cal State L.A. How can you use ChatGPT for your research, your library research process? Okay, so with that, we're going to kind of go back. Thank you, everybody, for letting us know, for participating in the little ChatGPT quiz. And now I'm going to segue and pass it on to Jayati.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jayati Chaudhuri, and I'm so happy to see so many of you here today to our very first ChatGPT library live session. So today, what we are going to cover, we are first going to talk about what is ChatGPT, which would be useful because half of the students have not used ChatGPT yet. So this will give you an idea about what it can do for you. And then we are going to focus on classroom applications for students, how you can use ChatGPT for your research, particularly for your library research. But then we are going to move on to limitation of ChatGPT for students because there are some limitations that we all need to be aware of it. ChatGPT comes with a lot of promises and it provides us many easy solutions to many things, but there are also some drawbacks. So we are going to aware you about that. And then and then we are going to focus on how to cite ChatGPT. So any of you are planning to use ChatGPT for your academic research, then how you can use it, how you can properly cite ChatGPT in APA, MLA, or Chicago citation style. And last but not the least, we are going to end with the ethical questions. Now that you all are part of this big academic community or scholarly community, what are the ethical questions you should ask yourself before you use ChatGPT or while you are using ChatGPT, okay? So let's begin our presentation. But before that, if you please go back, Letty, we have this form, and if you can send the link to the form in the chat. So this is the form you can use to show confirmation of attendance for this class. Once you submit this form, you will receive an email in return confirming your attendance to the session. So I see that Lettycia already sent you the confirmation attendance form. So please, you can click on the form and submit it at your convenience.
Jayati, may I say something really quickly about
Yes.
that? So this is what the form looks like, students. Many of you, your professors have required or have, invited you to attend for class credit or something like that. I want you to completely ignore this part that says Gmail and switch account. Just go ahead and completely ignore that part. And then go ahead and fill out the rest. So you can see that I've added my Cal State LA email. And remember, we're calstatela.edu. We're not calstatela.com or .org or .gov. We're .edu. Make sure you put that. And then your name, first name and last name. And then a question here. And then if your professor did require you, we'd like for you to indicate your professor's name and your course number, and then today's date. And like Jayati said, once you submit the form, a copy of your responses will be emailed back to you. And that would be the confirmation that you can serve, or you can give that to your teacher. Okay.
Okay, so then let's begin with what is ChatGPT. Next slide, please. So ChatGPT is a language model that allows people to interact with a computer in a more natural and conversational way. So if you have not used ChatGPT, you can, I'm going to show you how you can create an account or give you that information. But once you start using ChatGPT, you will realize that you can actually converse with ChatGPT. That is a very unique feature of ChatGPT. So the GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer and is the name given to a family of natural language models developed by Open Artificial Intelligence. So artificial intelligence is the company developed it, and this is also known as a form of generative AI because of its ability to produce original results. Okay. Let me expand on that. We also ask, next slide, please, ChatGPT to explain itself in 50 words. As I mentioned to you all, it's very conversational. So I ask, you can ask the simple question, who are you, ChatGPT? And ChatGPT will answer you with this, explain you that ChatGPT is a large language model developed by OpenAI. Okay, so the parent company is OpenAI. It can generate human-like text-based or on input prompts, answer question. It can generate your answer. It can generate the answer, regenerate the answer, change the answer based on your grades or need. How, if you want it to be more formal, less formal, it can change the tone, and it can also give you answer like a sixth grader or like a college student. It was trained on a massive data set of internet text to learn patterns and relationship in language. So in any internet browser, to create an account, you can go to chat.openai.com. The URL is that at the bottom of the slide, and you can create a free account and you can start using ChatGPT. It's really easy to use. As I said, you can ask any question and you can converse with ChatGPT. Next slide, please. So when it is safe to use ChatGPT, here is a diagram or chart I have used because ChatGPT comes with, again, lot of promises, but if you start with my diagram, like, does it matter if the output is true? If the output is true, doesn't matter. If you look at the arrow here, it is totally safe to use ChatGPT. So if you are writing a story, creating a poem, it's totally safe to use ChatGPT. But if the output is true, does matter, then you need to see or verify the information, okay? Do you have the expertise to verify that all output is accurate? Are you willing to take full responsibility for missed information or accuracy? If the answer is yes to all the above questions, then it is possible to use ChatGPT. But when using ChatGPT, make sure to verify each output word and sentence for accuracy and common sense. So again, what we are trying to tell you that You can use ChatGPT, but please do not use it blindly. You still need to verify information, look for accuracy and all that thing. So you can get basic guidance from ChatGPT, but I would not suggest you to get in-depth help from ChatGPT. So your job as a student and critical thinker is to verify the accuracy of the content generated by ChatGPT. Do not simply take ChatGPT content as true. Make sure to fact check ChatGPT content if you are using it to communicate something factual and credible. So next slide, please. And now Letty is going to talk about how you can use ChatGPT for your classroom application.
Okay, so how can you use ChatGPT, to support your library research? I want to demo four examples that are very specific to library research processes. The first one is involving generating a list of good keywords to use for your searches. Throw me a thumbs up or put it in the chat if you've ever had an experience where you're typing into one search or some other database and you're getting 0 results. Has that ever happened to you? One of the main reasons why is because, okay, I see a few people, okay, right, that's a very common experience. And one of the main reasons why that happens is because the database requires you to add the specific words you want it to look for. So getting a good list of research keywords is important. I'm going to demo how that looks in ChatGPT. I'm also going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to develop research questions, to generate summaries for important concepts or theories that you're learning about in your classes, and the key readings that go with those theories, and then also to generate research outlines. And this one is especially really important when you're writing kind of like a longer term paper, if you're probably taking a capstone course or perhaps a graduate level course, where you have to develop a type of research outline that is more involved. So I want to just make a note about the slides. So the slides have kind of the picture version of what it looks like. But I also want to show you a live demonstration, just so you can kind of get a taste for, how ChatGPT works. So let me exit out of this slide. Oops. And let me show you the first example. Okay, so can you see my screen here? Can throw me a thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay, so over here on the side are all the questions that I've asked ChatGPT, and you can see that there's quite a few. I've registered, right, an account. I see my name there. And then over here at the bottom, I wrote, make a list of keywords to research gentrification. That's a common topic a lot of students are researching. What are the good keywords that are going to generate for me some solid results when I search the database? This is one of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT, because as you see right away, it's starting to generate a long list of keywords. So not only is there gentrification, but I can also think of gentrification and displacement, gentrification, socioeconomic impacts, housing market changes. I really like this one as well, gentrification and inequality. And if I click on this regenerate, it'll kind of keep working on like another set of keywords. And so the point that we're trying to make here with this example is that keywords are important because the articles that you're looking for, they're given specific terms. It's called indexing in sort of library speech. And what you need to do is approximate or get as close as possible to those words that the database and the journals are using to describe the literature that's in them. Okay, let's go back to the slides. And now I'm going to show you an example of what ChatGPT looks like when you ask it to develop research questions. So in this one, I said, write a list of research questions dealing with climate change and Indigenous people. And so if you've taken, any other Library Live workshop, or if you've done a class with a subject librarian who's come into your class to kind of give you some strategies and techniques for searching for academic literature, you've probably have had some practice writing a research question. Research questions are very important because they give you a way or a path forward in your research. So they give you a question to answer. So as you can see here, when I asked this question, or when I gave it this command, write a list of research questions dealing with climate change, it gave me a few questions that are actually really good. What traditional ecological knowledge held by Indigenous communities can contribute to climate change adaptation and migration strategies? That's number 2. There's another question in here about the UN. Oops, let me go back to 7. How can climate change policies and initiatives better incorporate and respect Indigenous rights, knowledge, and perspectives in line with international agreements, such as the UN Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People? At that point, I might be asking myself, like, wow, I hadn't heard of that term before, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. So it can spark a curiosity for me. It can make me kind of think about other things that I can research that kind of go with my research question. You can also, at this point, do a regeneration or ask an additional paired question and ask ChatGPT to provide you a list with peer-reviewed journals or perhaps professional associations that research in this area, that research in, the intersections of Indigenous studies and sovereignty and climate and ecologies. Okay, here is another one, another example. In this one, I have used the question or given the following command. What is community cultural wealth? Can you provide a definition with scholarly references? So this is that third example that we mentioned, where you can ask ChatGPT to provide you with concise summaries about specific frameworks, theories, concepts that you're learning about. So community cultural wealth is a concept, and it's also a praxis that deals with the way that culturally specific forms of knowledges serve as capital or cultural capital, and also social capital for students, particularly students of color and Latinx students. So right here at the top, you can see that right away, it's giving me a very concise definition of that concept. It tells me the primary scholar that developed it, Tarayoso. And, this is, I'm not sure if this is current now, Associate Professor of Department of Chicano Studies at University of California, Santa Barbara. Keep in mind that a lot of this information, you would have to fact check it, right? So you want to get the good things from ChatGPT, but also don't just take it at face value. And then it goes into a little bit further of what is community cultural wealth, recognizes and values the unique cultural assets and strengths that individuals and communities of color possess. And then over here on the next slide, it's kind of part of it. I just kind of created another screenshot of it. It tells me the 6 elements or forms of community cultural wealth. And then it gives me the reference citation here. But one of the things that I want to point out to you is that you have to do the work as well to make sure that this reference is actually true. And Jayati is going to talk more about that, the verification process and the things to look out for. But I do want to say a note about here is that lots of people, after Tarayoso developed this concept and theory, this theoretical framework, lots of people have been writing about community cultural wealth and applying it to all kinds of different disciplinary areas, not just education. And I noticed that when I asked ChatGPT this question, it didn't give me, the scholarly references. It only gave me one. Okay, this is the last example I want to show you. And for this one, we're going to kind of go live again. And this question is going to ask, create an outline for a research paper dealing with global and local pollution impacts on health. Okay, so let me go back to my ChatGPT examples. And here I am in my ChatGPT interface. And right here at the very bottom, this is where you can see where I've given it the command. Okay, so I'm telling it what to do. And I want an outline, a research outline. That's my question. And then right away, it starts kind of generating for me, right? Part of the effect of like using ChatGPT, sort of like, wow, you know, the wow factor is that it's going to generate info fast for you, like in an instant. But don't be fooled by that instantaneity. You want to always use your critical eye to make sure that this is all making sense. Okay, so let's take a look at it. It gives me a background, or gives me the introduction part. And then it says here, the introductory part, and then the second part is sort of like an overview. I wanted to also kind of show that sometimes what you're going to get in ChatGPT, whether you ask the question, you can sort of regenerate it again and kind of see what a different kind of outline is. But sometimes, actually, a lot of times, when you ask the same question, you might get different results. So for instance, let me show this one again. The example that we have for you here has introduction as sort of the main part. Second part, literature review. Third part, methodology. Fourth part, results, discussion, conclusion, reference. And this is the kind of pattern that you've probably have already been working with, particularly if you are a student engaging in peer-reviewed academic literature in the social sciences and in the natural sciences, and in the health sciences, and in the hard sciences. So if you're like in the sciences sort of area, you probably have already detected this kind of ready-made pattern, or not ready-made pattern, but like a standard kind of pattern of how we kind of organize literature. So just keep that in mind, that when you type in your results, you might get different results the second time that you type in your question. Does that kind of make sense? You can throw me a thumbs up if this is kind of making sense. Let me look at some of the thumbs up. Okay, very good. Yeah, so like we said at the very beginning, we want to emphasize that that people use ChatGPT for their library research. So these are some of the ways that you can do that. Just 4 ways, but there's tons of other ways. And all of these are okay. They're not considered like a form of plagiarism. It's more kind of like how someone said in the poll, kind of like a brainstorming tool. And now we're going to talk about this next section, and Jayati will discuss part 4.
Hello, everyone. So Lettycia showed you how you can use ChatGPT for your library research help. But I'm going to take a different perspective, and I'm going to show you what are the limitations of ChatGPT. And you all should be very much aware of this limitation before even you start using ChatGPT. So let me elaborate on that from the next slide. So the first limitation I'm going to talk about, lack of contextual awareness. So many times it happens that ChatGPT provides incorrect and misinterpreted responses because it is unable to comprehend context and the background information. So a solution could be that we have to offer more context to this AI model to get correct answer, but we need to be aware of that. Also, many times you may find biased information from ChatGPT because ChatGPT is trained on a large set of text data, and that data may contain biases or prejudices. This means that AI may sometimes generate responses that are unintentionally biased or discriminatory. So and ChatGPT has been shown to produce some terrible answers that discriminate against gender, race, and minority group, which is the company is trying to mitigate. So this is the first version of ChatGPT we are talking about, and this is one of the drawbacks of ChatGPT. Okay, the next one is lack of empathy. So because this is still a machine we are talking to, it is unable to comprehend thoughts and sentiments and provides inappropriate information due to lack of feelings. Also, it has been seen that ChatGPT still struggles with complicated reasoning and problem-solving activities. And also, it has problem with providing accurate information, also gives some grammatical errors. So it is sensitive to typos, grammatical errors, and this model may also produce responses that are technically correct but may not be entirely accurate in terms of context or relevance. This limitation can be particularly challenging when processing complex or specialized information where accuracy and precision are crucial. So if you are trying to write something accurate, then you should think twice, like before you entirely depend on ChatGPT. Next slide, please. Okay, the another major limitation of ChatGPT is that quality answers depends on the quality of direction. So as you all have probably heard this from your librarian, like how you need to construct your search within a library database to get better result. And same is true with ChatGPT. Like if you give a vague prompt in ChatGPT screen, it will give you a vague answer. For example, I have given two examples here. If you just write like, tell me about AI history, the answer won't be that good. But if you write, summarize the history of AI in 3 key milestones, you will get a better answer. So it's another example can be, what are the health benefits of exercise? That is still very like, it is a good question, but it's still very broad, right? So the revised prompt can be, how does regular exercise improve cardiovascular health? So here you are narrowing your questions, what we actually suggest to our students during our library session, that when you are constructing your search, that make it more narrow, do not be that vague, then you are not going to find exact answer to your question. Now, next slide, please. Okay, so lack of emotional intelligence. I think I touched upon this already, but it doesn't understand emotions or true meaning behind the sentence. So it cannot detect subtle emotional cues or respond appropriately to complex emotional situations. Okay. And with that, not understanding sarcasm or irony. So also, but the thing is that it also lacks common sense. So while ChatGPT can generate human-like responses and has access to a large amount of information, it doesn't process human level of common sense. So the model also lacks the common sense in providing the answer. Also, there are different versions of ChatGPT available. So depending on what version of ChatGPT you are using, you will get different answers. Now, instead of talking to you all and saying what I think the limitation of ChatGPT, I thought I would ask ChatGPT about that. What are the limitations of ChatGPT? So, Lettycia, do you mind showing us that screen? Okay, so the prompt is, what are some common mistakes ChatGPT makes? Okay. Okay. So it's starting with I'm not perfect. That's for sure. One common mistake is that I might generate information that sound plausible, but it's actually incorrect or outdated. Oh my God. Okay. Now, Lettycia, do you mind clicking on the regenerate button? And let's see if it gives us more information. Okay, so here are the list of limitations, and unfortunately, this is a long list we can see, and many of the items I already covered in my limitations presentation. So yes, yeah, so, and I'm also seeing in the comment section, so it's not up to date. It doesn't provide up to date information. And then we see the lack of context awareness, um, sensitivity to input phrasing, inappropriate content, tendency to guess user intent. And that is expected when you are conversing with a machine learning or learning a language model like ChatGPT. So here you can see that unfortunately there are several limitations of using ChatGPT. Let's go back to our presentation slides. And if you are planning to use ChatGPT, next slide, please. I also want to show you that it also fabricates references and content. For example, here is an example from a peer-reviewed publication. You can see the source at the bottom of the slide, where the question was, write a 100-word report on arsenic in rice based on one publication in the recent peer-reviewed literature. And it gave us the paragraph, and also it gave us the citation. But when you dig deeper, you will see that this citation is not correct. So it made up this citation and it gave a real DOI. But if you click on this DOI link, it will go to this article, not the article mentioned in the ChatGPT's page. So here is an example to you all how it can fabricate references and content. So why we all need to verify information before we decide to use ChatGPT for our academic research. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to focus on if you decide to use ChatGPT for your research purpose, how you can use it, how you can actually cite ChatGPT. And some of the citation manuals have already included information on how to cite ChatGPT. So we are going to focus on three primary citation style today: APA, MLA, and Chicago, that our students use. So first we are going to start with citing ChatGPT APA style. So when you will be citing ChatGPT in APA reference citation style, there has to be 4 elements: author, date, title, and the source. The author of the model is OpenAI. So that's what you see in the reference citation. According to APA style, that's OpenAI is the author of the model. Then the date is the year of the version you use. So that is 2023. The title is the name of the model is ChatGPT. And so that serves as the title, and it should be italicized in your reference. And then you are going to use the source of the URL, which is chat.openai.com/chat. And when you are using it in text citation for parenthetical citation, as we always do, we include the author's last name and the publication year. So here we'll be using OpenAI as the author and then the publication year. And if you are using it in your narrative citation, then the OpenAI will be part of your narration, and then within the parentheses, you will include the publication year, which is 2023. Next slide, please. So here is another example of how you can use OpenAI in your in-text citation and in your references section. And all this information has been taken from apastyle.apa.org page. So we have given you the URL on the slide. So you can access this page and find more information on how to cite ChatGPT in APA style. Next is citing ChatGPT in MLA style. So when you are citing ChatGPT in MLA, the citation will include the 4 core elements. The first one is no author, title of source, title of container, date and location. So no author is because MLA doesn't advise attributing the AI tool as an author, because AI tool is actually not the author because it is collecting information from a large set of data. So if you look at the, so you would start with the prompt, which is describe the symbolism of the green light. So there is no author for this. You will start with the prompt, and then ChatGPT would be the title of source, title of the container, and then you need to include the version, what version of ChatGPT you are using, and the parent company is OpenAI, and then the date you access that citation and the URL. Okay, so that would be your works cited list entry. And in the in-text citation, you would include the part of your prompt within the parentheses, because MLA again doesn't allow ChatGPT to be included as an author. Okay. And you can access this from the mla.org page, and they have more information on how to cite generative AI. So please feel free to go to that page for more information. Oh, last we have how to cite ChatGPT in Chicago 7 style. So for Chicago, it's ChatGPT stands in as author of the content. So, so I wanted to explain you all that so that when you are constructing your citation, you know how to add ChatGPT in your citation depending on what citation style you are following. So OpenAI is the publisher of the content. So if you have edited the AI generated text, you should say so in the text. So in the parentheses, you can add that information, and in your citation in text, ChatGPT responds to explain. So start with the author ChatGPT, and then prompt should be written as response to. Then you will include your prompt, explain how to make pizza dough within the quotation mark. And the OpenAI is the parent company here. And when you access the document, March 7, 2023. And now, according to Chicago style, you do not need to include the URL because that URL doesn't go to the specific page. It will go to the ChatGPT's page, so you do not need to include that. And again, the source is Chicago Manual of Style.org, where you can find more information about how to cite ChatGPT in your Chicago 7 style. Okay. So a lot of information I have shared with you all, but I have also given you the URL to find that information or save that information for your future research purposes.
And Jayati, there's a really interesting question in the chat. I'm going to read it out loud. I'm not sure how many professors are allowing citing from ChatGPT. And the truth is that on the library side, as librarians, we're not really sure either. But, you know, it's very possible that students might be engaging in ChatGPT sort of on a research purpose, and not using it to kind of like brainstorm information, but maybe like log what kinds of answers it's providing based on, the type of prompt. So things like that are, situations like that or scenarios like that are some of the reasons why the major styles, citational styles, and we've only really highlighted APA, MLA in Chicago, why they have responded to, how to cite ChatGPT. Am I understanding that correctly, Jayati?
Yes, because in your academic research, you are supposed to provide your original writing. That's the core of academic writing. And when you are using somebody else's help, if you are reading someone else authors, previously we used to read article written by an author. So we used to cite that author. Now, if you are tempted to use ChatGPT, you better use it in a proper way by citing the source. Also, please talk to your professor. Like, that's the main thing we also want to recommend you all strongly. Please talk to your professor how and whether your professor allows you to use ChatGPT and cite it in your references section.
And that's a really good segue to the last portion of our workshop. We can talk a lot about ChatGPT. We can have like a whole day seminar to talk about all of the different sorts of questions that come up. And, just again, to repeat, the purpose of today was really to show our students some practical ways that you can apply or use this technology for your library research process. But also to talk a lot and very clearly about the limitations. So Jayati described how in many different instances, ChatGPT can simply make stuff up. And it sounds like, wow, it sounds credible. But one of the responsibilities that you have as a student is to verify that information. That's part of your academic training, so to speak, is to get good with asking the kinds of questions like, is that really true, what ChatGPT is providing for me? Another thing that that we both really want you to consider are two things. First of all, ChatGPT was created by a for-profit private company called OpenAI. So they're making money. This is a company that's for-profit. And technologies like ChatGPT can be understood under this sort of framework called surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism is an analytical way of understanding the way that technologies like Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, how those technologies are very closely intertwined and embedded with profit making and also surveillance. And so Shoshana Zuboff wrote a really important book where she talks all about surveillance capitalism, which she describes as the unilateral claiming of private human experience as free raw material for translation into behavioral data. These data are then computed and packaged as prediction products and sold into behavioral futures markets. Business customers with a commercial interest in knowing what we will do now, soon, and later. So like, what does that mean, actually? What that means is that big companies like Amazon, Apple, Google Docs, Facebook, TikToks, Instagram, all of these different sorts of companies that we engage with all the time on our smartphones and that we purchase stuff from, all of those use forms of surveillance capitalism to collect your data. They're looking at how, what are your search histories? What are your social media posts? Where's the physical location? Your phone might be tracking you. Where's the physical location where you're, logging in? What sorts of sounds and words is it picking up on all of the different devices that, are listening to us. And all of these sorts of like data, that's the raw material. That's our human behavioral raw material. These companies are scooping that up and they are extracting that from us. And they're using it to sell us back things. For instance, this is a visual image of, it's a really cool cartoon that looks at the Internet of Things or IoT devices like the smart couch and the eye lamp and all of these sorts of like Alexa, things like that are the Internet of Things. Your phone, like even your refrigerator nowadays can, you can control it with your phone. All of that is packaged as a convenience to you, but it's really important for you as a college student in particular, because that's what you're engaged with in college is critical thinking and asking why systems and the way the world is ordered, like why is it that way? Is there an unevenness of distribution, an inequality to that? That's what you're doing here at Cal State L.A. You're training to become a critical thinker. So these are the questions that we want you to kind of consider, because as a user of ChatGPT and AI technologies, you can consider your role as a participant and user in these technologies that are driven by profit and their impact, with the type of impact that they have on our democracy and our human rights. And I also want to kind of end with this consideration for you, that the background image there is sort of a visual depiction of some of like that computational data that OpenAI is using and other sort of generative AI is using to kind of figure out like what's the next word, to kind of guess what's the next word in a search string or in a sort of sentence string that then it's kind of generating for you at like rapid fire speed. On top of that are all of these sorts of circles that I want you to consider are all of the things that make who you are you. And you have a voice to develop here at Cal State L.A. That's part of one of the most important things you're going to do as a student is develop your voice. Your critical perspective, it comes from your lived experience, your culture, your political standpoint, the ethical responsibilities that you take on, the things that our ancestors have taught us, the different choices that you make as an individual that also have an impact on the community. And when you write that paper, when you write that presentation, that's your opportunity to say your voice, to give us your feedback. How are you understanding the world? How are you reading what's going on in the world? And how are you then also saying what's going on in the world? So we want to emphasize that one of the most important goals for you in higher education is to develop your ability to communicate your critical perspective through the work of critical thinking, reading, writing, discussion. All of those activities, those will develop your unique voice as a scholar. And so with that, we have about 5 minutes for open discussion. This is our contact information. Jayati and I team up a lot all the time to present these workshops. Next week, we're going to do one on APA citation, which is our most popular citation format style. We're going to get into the weeds of APA citation, but please feel free to take a screen grab of that and ask us any questions.